Well, just having wandered over to the other side of the field for a moment and standing under a hawthorn tree, I felt an instant pull from the tree because I knew it was answering my question, and my question is, what am I going to speak about this afternoon? So I took a little leaf from the hawthorn. It's very young and fresh this time of year, and I chewed it and I tasted the bitterness of the tannins which were in the leaf of this tree. And then I was also asked to take a little piece so I could hold the hawthorn up to you. And hawthorn is one of the trees from the Celtic tree oracle, called the Ogham, also pronounced Ogham by some people. It's a very ancient Celtic divination system where there are 20 trees, and the particular qualities associated with hawthorn are misfortune and challenge. And somehow I feel that's the subject of what I'm going to be speaking about today, is looking at misfortune and looking at challenge in a new way, because we get to experience these perhaps in a more profound and extreme way in our human relationships, and particularly in our intimate relationships, and even more particularly our intimate sexual relationships. This is where these qualities will tend to come out for you to look at, for you to consider, and for you to work through your things. And I'm very aware as I sit here of being particularly blessed, because this is England, it's June, it's 2011, and the weather, as you can see, is wonderful. I'm sitting here in a t-shirt and we've got the wonderful background of the river. So I feel great sense of gratitude about being able to be here, being able to speak on the camera in such a beautiful place, and to talk about what is very, very difficult to talk about, because it's how do you deal with misfortune, and how do you deal with challenge, how do you deal with the really tough breaks that come in your life, and how do you cope with the understanding that you may come to through some of your human relationships, where the most significant relationships are the ones you just want to run a mile from, because they're frequently, often, or maybe even constantly provoking circumstances which are really challenging. And there's a beautiful little echo there, because my concentration wants to be on what I'm saying, but it just starts to deviate to the vehicle passing us by, and it comes back to what I'm talking about. So, lovely little example. What do we do? How do we cope with situations where you're with someone that you love them so much, and they love you so much, and yet just being together is almost more than you can bear? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make reference to two of my guides, and I need to be very careful about how I do this, because I don't want to offend anyone. You'll see why in a moment. So I want to talk about the worm's eye view and the eagle's eye view. Now, I greatly respect every single one of my guides, of course I do, because we do great work together, and massive respect to Worm. Worm was the second of my guides to reveal itself to me during my training, weekend 1, day 1. And then the eagle that revealed herself, very much a sense of a female with the eagle, herself to me, not so very long afterwards. So I've got these two wonderful guides who do amazing work with me, and I want to use these as allegorical examples about how we choose to look at the world. So when I choose to look at the world from the worm's eye view, and I'm in a relationship where I'm having some challenges and some things which are happening which I might regard to be a misfortune, so supposing one day I get so hacked off with things that I really let rip and give the person I love so much a big piece of my mind, in some ways, from the worm's eye view, that's a misfortune, because that then produces a massive reaction in my partner, who then quite shortly announces I'm now her ex-partner. Can't get more of a misfortune than that when this is the person that you love so very, very much. So that's the situation we're dealing with. What a misfortune. And from the worm's eye view, that really is what it is. And then hang on a minute comes the voice, and the voice is the voice of the eagle high up in the sky, looking way down from up high, looking at the overall picture and saying, yeah. Well, of course, Worm is quite right from Worm's perspective. What a misfortune. And what a challenge you got. Okay, so this is a person that you love so very much, and she loves you so very much, and she's binned you off, and yeah, it's not the first time, it's the second time. Right, okay, it is a fairly big deal you've got going on here. How are you going to deal with it? So what Eagle would say, well, look at things from the bigger picture, not so much from the personal, but from the transpersonal point of view. So from the transpersonal point of view, our difficulties, our misfortune of getting such awful feelings about each other is the grist to our mill for our growth and our evolution. Yes, you knew it was going to come. Oh God, you're so bored with hearing it, because every time it comes a misfortune, here comes another opportunity for growth. There it is. Would you like to go about that? Oh, here comes another one. So here's the news. Here we are. It's June 2011. The 28th of October 2011 is not very far away. The beginning of the universal cycle is not very far away. So are you finding life easy at the moment? Well, there's not very many of you. Okay, let's address this conversation with everybody else. You're finding life quite challenging. Of course you are. Of course you are. In these days which are leading up towards really major things, which are constantly catalysing evolution and transformation, of course you're going to be finding all sorts of difficulties. If they're not coming through the relationship area, they're going to come through work, or through finance, or through your home life accommodation, or perhaps all. In a sense, what I'm being guided to say by my guides is this then goes to this particular place in my body, and it's perfect, because you see every hawthorn has got a thorn on it. So when I put it here, the thorn is actually digging into my flesh, only a tinchy little bit. Therefore I'm feeling a tiny little bit of pain in my heart, and it's connecting me through to the feelings that I'm dealing with at the moment with my heart. So what I need to be reminded of on a moment by moment basis is that anything that my day-to-day self wants to regard as a misfortune is another opportunity for growth. And here's the thing that I'm going to bring us back to, because we begin with misfortune and challenge, but then we come to this other quality which I want to add to the mix as well, just to make it even murkier. Let's add confusion in there as well. So you've got the misfortune, you've got the challenge, which may be occurring in your relationships, your employment, or your accommodation situation. You've got all that going on, and you've got the confusion going on too, which is, well, what do I do? Which choice do I make? Which is the most appropriate choice do I make? This is something I hear constantly from people. And again, I love to give people this answer, because it's the answer that really rubs them up the wrong way. They really don't want to hear it, because of course there is no such thing as wrong choice. The choice that you make is the correct choice for you in any situation at all. And I've had this in a really deep and powerful way. I had the rather extraordinary circumstance of having been in an amazing relationship with an extraordinary woman for some time, and she having decided it was to be over, and me still having very great feelings of love for her, and then it was over. This is all a long time ago, and I get together with somebody else, and things are going really well, and some time goes by, and then I get contacted by the person from before, and I end up being in a situation where I'm in communication with them both. And I then find myself in this really extraordinary situation where both of them are saying, hey, be with me. So the one that I'm currently with is saying, hey, forget about her, be with me. And the one from before is saying, hey, let go of her, be with me. So can you imagine, this is a really good example. This is a sexual relationship situation, ultimate challenge. What do you do? And there's no wrong choices. So having agonized for a while, I chose to remain with the one that I was with. And I could easily come up with a really big list of reasons why it's better to be with her than to be with the one I was with. And so I did. And you know what happened? I just think this is so funny. Over the next 7 days, what the universe did is it showed me in every possible way how the choice that I'd made was actually the one that I was going to let go of, and I was going to choose to be back with the other person, the one that had been so difficult to be with, the one that was inviting me back into her life. And so, with great regret and with great understanding from my new partner, I then explained how I choose you. Everything the universe is sending is saying no. So I'm now saying goodbye, and I'm going to be with that other person that I was with before we met. And I'm sorry, and this is how it is. And so, if you make a choice which is really so blatantly, obviously not the appropriate choice for you, because of the times we're living in now, the universe will make it abundantly clear to you that that's the case. So your golden key throughout all is to be open, to listen to the whispers, to be tuned into your intuition. These are the qualities which are going to help us. So that's why there's no wrong choice, because if you make the choice that isn't for your highest good, because of the times we're living in, if you're awake, open, ears and eyes open, intuition open, you'll get it given to you very, very clearly. So that is a great freedom for us all, because then it gives us a possibility to relax. Because if you know that you're being guided to such an extent, and we all are if we're open to it, then we can relax about the choices we're making. So whenever the dilemma comes up, go for it, knowing that if you've chosen right, that's absolutely fine for you. And if the universe is not entirely satisfied with that choice, then it will be adjusted, because you'll be given little hints and you'll see, actually, right. Well, I did try this and I can see it's just not working right, is the other thing. Yeah. I think when a person gets in front of a camera and starts speaking with the intent to help other people, they are also giving themselves the medicine. So back to the hawthorn, little prick in the heart there. Yes. My son is a purveyor of Chinese Taoist herbs, and there's one which is called Serenity. He does 5, and I've experienced 3 out of the 5, and there's only 2 I haven't experienced, and it's one of the 2 I've not experienced yet. So I know I've got a bit of resistance going on here, because I know that 3 days ago I could have taken that herb out and started bringing it up and started drinking it. Interesting, I haven't begun yet. So yes, so in terms of relaxing, there are many things you can do. I do yoga on a daily basis. That's an extremely helpful thing to relax. Taking herbs or using other plants which encourage relaxation, a very good move, much to be recommended. So yes, so that's me giving myself a little couple of RXs there. Here's another thing. If you've got an ongoing difficult situation with someone where they are either not communicating with you at all, and you know there's great hostility going on, or they are communicating but there's still great hostility going on, there's something I'm going to recommend. And this is a classic example because this came up from my guides, and I gave this information to someone by text. I was in Portugal at the time. I texted this information to the person in England, and when I was giving this information to my guides, I thought to myself, you need to do this for yourself. Create the simplest shrine you possibly can. If you've got a photograph or you've got any artifact of that person, or you can just literally get a piece of paper and write the person's name. It can be as crude and as blunt as that, or you could have lots of beautiful things, objects that they made. You could turn it into something really gorgeous. Doesn't matter, because whichever way you do it, do the same job. A shrine is simply an area. It could be a sheet of paper 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters wide. That could be your shrine, and you just put the object on it, or objects on it. So you create this shrine, and you put it somewhere in your home or dwelling space where you will see it. And then every time you go past the shrine, which has got the person's name on it, or a photograph or objects, what you do is you send the person your love. Just a big burst of heart bubble love to that person. That's what you do. It does work. I've done it with the person I need to recommence doing it with. I've done this with this person before. I need to recommence doing it because of where things are at with us now. So I certainly recommend that one. Any intractable difficulties of the person, set up your shrine, and then simply projecting thoughts of love to that person is really helpful.